like Nikola Tesla did for his laboratory experiments. He would go into a lucid dream state, and then he would apply the same physics of his experiments without spending the time or the resources in his laboratory. In the first experiment or two, he would succeed instead of hundreds or thousands. I'm not like, look at me, I'm some shining example of spiritual prowess. I'm like, this is our potential. And I'm just representing that divine potential and trying to foster community over our collective use of those skills. Maybe it was like a cascade of lights from the sky or a certain feeling that moved through my body, but I could give people that were not really believers in anything, like agnostics and atheists, all sorts of experiences without really referencing divinity or consciousness or anything like that, just as a natural transmission.
Welcome to another Inner Edge podcast episode. My name is Soleiman Balor. I'm here with Samson Love, who's an interdisciplinary mystic. I'm so curious to know what he does, who he is, and how he got here. So let's dive in as always. Welcome, and who are you and what do you do, Samson?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Look forward to more fully exploring the Inner Edge podcast.
Thanks, bud.
So I had a really different experience coming to Earth and growing up. I had just wisdom and understanding in the experience of many lifetimes beyond one. And so calling it future or past or parallel, I'm not really too interested in mapping what the experience is, just the fact that some of the knowledge from those extended experiences applied to my skills and understandings of this life. So it wasn't some sort of fantasy, which because of my upbringing, I grew up in a Jewish family and was just kind of pragmatic and like have your savings and your education and your stability and your reputation in the community and stuff like that. And so my grandfathers were both dentists, and then my dad was an engineer. Is that a real job? Can you make money at that? And what am I going to be for a living? I'm going to be a mystic. I don't know. Can you have a 401k? Can you? I do all right.
Yeah.
So when a guidance counselor in school asks you, what you want to be, and then a little kid might say, I want to be a truck and go back and forth, and then an older kid might say, I want to be, like an engineer or a paramedic or something like that.
Yeah.
I referenced the gross national happiness quotient in Tibet, and I was like, it's kind of like the gross domestic product, but instead of finances, what's measured is the fulfillment and enjoyment of people. I want my career or my contribution to be that for the world. And the guidance counselor was like, so but what do you want to do?
Right. Totally.
So that brought me through like the 8 brocades and yoga and fasting and basically the left and right-handed paths in all different mystical traditions. I had a speech for my bar mitzvah that I very much appreciated, Judaism, but I was going to go on to explore other faiths. And my mom was like, that's beautiful. You should say that. And my dad's like, what is this garbage? You have to throw that away. Write a new one.
Yeah.
So I listened to him and I wrote a new one. But I did end up exploring many different faiths, but it wasn't so much about the religious institutions and how people were structured to relate to divinity. It was more about sharing gnosis and that living relationship, because maybe it was like a cascade of lights from the sky or a certain feeling that moved through my body, but I could give people that were not really believers in anything, like agnostics and atheists, all sorts of experiences without really referencing divinity or consciousness or anything like that, just as a natural transmission. And so on one hand, I just wanted to relate to people and not be demonized or deified for my weirdness. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, I wanted to meet people with elevated consciousness so I could learn more about what I can do and why I can do it and how I'm supposed to apply it. And I have this mediumship school called the Happy Medium.
Nice.
And now I have a lot more fulfillment in friendship, in relationship, and in the things that I can teach people to do and do with them. So, you might want to do a massage trade with a friend, and I might want to do energy healing and speak in tongues and transform the energetic field, the trajectory of our lives, clean the ancestry, things like that. So while I have many physical exercises and superfoods and diet things, the thing that's most true to my heart is the connection to the divine and how we can experience that and how we can relate from that place. from that higher dimensional expression and connection.
Yes. So tapped in. My heart's like, connecting to oneself, the deeper self, and connection with another. Yeah. And so if we were to sort of share to the viewers, like, what is it that you do? Like, what's an interdisciplinary mystic? What do you do?
So it's kind of like integrative medicine in terms of mystical traditions. In alternative medicine, you'll have synergy between different programs in Eastern and Western. But then in integrative medicine, you might have biofeedback devices mixed in with some of the Eastern practices and, medications that synergize with those sorts of things. So say I'll take yoga and then have people doing Reiki on themselves during a yoga practice, or I'll teach people how to do yoga nidra and travel through their subconscious when they're not having an emotional trigger and decondition reactivity to traumas. Or I'll have somebody go through like a fantasy of a way that they want to connect. Like say I have this kind of fitness that I haven't yet developed, or I have this sort of confidence in partnership and intimacy that I haven't yet developed. And I'm going to put myself through this expression energetically. And then when it comes into play, their training is a lot more effective. Like what Nikola Tesla did for his laboratory experiments.
What did he do?
So he would go into a lucid dream state, and then he would apply the same physics of his experiments without spending the time or the resources in his laboratory. And then he would get into the laboratory in the real world, and in the first experiment or two, he would succeed instead of hundreds or thousands like most scientists have to do and spend the time and money to accomplish.
Wow. So you're speaking about like pre-visioning what you're doing, like because I hear a lot of sports people do this, where they have their players imagine shooting a free throw over and over again in their mind's eye, and then when they actually start shooting a free throw, they're much better at it.
It has powerful results. Yeah, it's that, but in like a hypnagogic state.
Okay. All right.
I thought of that from Tibetan dream yoga. So in Tibetan dream yoga, they'll take people and teach them to be lucid in the dream state, and then like teach them a language in a single night of sleep, or maybe a week or two, depending on their skill level, the master and the student's skill level. Or they'll astral project and do like what I do while I'm awake isn't in a distance healing, but they'll do that in dreams. And then it's a lot more powerful because the critical factor is disengaged. So their tension is out of the way. So their ability to channel and their lucidity is a lot more on point. But to stabilize those abilities is a lot of foundational work that goes into it. So I'm not like, look at me, I'm some shining example of spiritual prowess. I'm like, this is our potential. And I'm just representing that divine potential and trying to foster community over our collective use of those skills. And I have a trick or two up my sleeve, but it's not about that for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it seems like you've done your practice to get to where you are. Mm-hmm. So what was your journey to get to here in terms of the challenges that you had to go through to get to where you are to then now offer this to others?
On one hand, a difficult childhood. Like my parents were divorced when I was 2, and then they got remarried, and I got a lot of not necessarily supportive attention, but pressure from emotional difficulties in both sides of my family and the people that they remarried to. And it was interesting because on one hand, I was looked to for my gifts and my understanding, but then on the other hand, I was treated like a child. So while that could be considered difficult, it was also an initiation. And then I was practicing 1,000-day kriya. Normally when you get initiated as a kundalini yoga instructor, you're asked to do a 40-day sadhana. Usually it's something like Navi kriya, where you're working out your solar plexus and strengthening your willpower and self-esteem. So later in my practice, not just to gain a habit in the 40 days that's known as an alchemical month, but to gain mastery, I committed to the self-purification kriya, which is a isometric hold, among other things, with a finger posture. And then you fatigue the muscles, kind of like some of the gymnastics exercises. And you just kind of go through the things that are blocking your ability to receive and express divine love in the back of the heart chakra. But there's like a lot of shaking and pain and sweating, and then it becomes ecstatic and effortless as you get more experienced at just staying in the posture, not wiggling and avoiding it, and embracing the transmission. So during that 1,000-day kriya, I got in a car accident and I broke my spine, and I'm laying there in a ditch. It was because of a smart car accident, and If I had had my seatbelt on, I would have perished because the smart car flipped and crushed itself. But I didn't have my seatbelt on, and that saved my life. So that's kind of a strange,
Wow.
the opposite of what you usually hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I flew 20 meters, 60 feet out of the window, and then my head got really clear in the middle of flying through the air. Like I felt some sort of higher consciousness, angelic interference, whatever. And then I had all this lucidity and everything kind of slowed down. And I felt like I got flung forward more than straight down from my natural trajectory. So I wouldn't like sever the spinal nerve. And I still injured the heck out of my spine. But
Yeah.
some lady drove by and saw me laying in the ditch and then called the paramedics, and they came up to me. And I had the wherewithal from a spiritual message to say, you don't have the right to touch me. I'm in shock. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but please leave. And they listened to me.
Wow.
So I army crawled to my phone, and I asked my friend if she could pick me up and bring me to her vineyard and just leave me in a dark room and bring me food once a day. And I continued that kriya for some of the most painful yoga of my entire life.
Wow.
And it fixed my spine. 3 days to get rid of the pain, and then about a month or two to get most of the flexibility back in my back bends.
Wow. I mean, I'm speechless. That's amazing. Like, what a way to trust yourself and trust life. Yeah.
It was a scary moment. I'm proud of my choice, and it didn't feel reckless because of the spiritual message that I was receiving, but it's just kind of a test of faith, and then it happened to work. And I study stories of the great saints, not just like yogic saints or Catholic saints or what have you. That's where the interdisciplinary mystic piece comes in, because I believe in the potential credibility of all different faiths. And it's not a blind belief. It's just a willingness to observe, like an unpretentious science, you could say, but it includes things that most people wouldn't consider science that seem to be way out there in the realms of consciousness. But it's, again, just unpretentious and not really pragmatic or dogmatic. And in studying these stories, people are like, some guy knows about someone's situation across the world, or some woman knows about some family situation across the world and heals them physically, or heals the way that they argue with each other, or prevents the children from having a genetic disease that the family has always had. And I'm like, okay, what, with my grain of salt that I take, is real in this expression, and what is exaggeration or hearsay just to kind of get attention or money or what have you. And so I've been on this path of evaluating these things and hearing the stories of other people that I deem trustworthy and credible, and just kind of taking all the literatures with reverence, but also a grain of salt, and observing. And I never really had the opportunity to be agnostic because I'm plugged into divinity since I was a kid, but I can be just having equanimity as I view different people's interpretation of divinity. Like, what in this is putting a pressure on how we're supposed to do things, and what in this is helping people to open to their natural relationship with that divinity. So it's a different type of scientific sorting to support the most beneficial type of expression and experience for the human collective, and in my personal life and friendships and in my spiritual progress towards these gifts. So when that happened, and that accident happened, and my healing was successful, I reflected on a lot of the things that I was like, that's probably not realistic because it's so extreme.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can do this small thing, then that large thing might be a lot more probable and maybe even approachable, or maybe some small portion of it, if they were way more of a prodigy than me and they were being born into like a lineage of mystics that was directly teaching them, instead of me being just kind of born into like a skeptical community. They barely had a health food store and no yoga or acupuncture or anything. I'm like, okay, I can work towards these things, and I can find people that have relatable mastery and are connected to these lineages, and I can see how far I can take this in my life, and maybe even relate to people that have the resources to take it a lot further than me, and forward the efficiency of my study, and therefore my efficiency in not only helping and healing people and being an educator about consciousness, but something more global and collective about the way that we plug into each other and our higher potential, which is my underlying motivation, personal fulfillment and collective well-being.
So, because this is almost specifically for men's, I want men to sort of like gain information and practices from this podcast. What are some of the things that you've done in your way of being to sort of like, I know you said that this has just been your makeup, and you've had to practice a lot of these things.
Like the kriya, for example.
Exactly. So what are some things, if you were to sort of like tune in to men's work and men, like what are some of the ways that what you've done for yourself could support that?
We can discuss the ones that are most resonant with you and the aims of this podcast and the community. There's a few different examples. One is fasting, intermittent fasting, water fasting, dry fasting, and the use of different superfoods that have just been incredible for my health and well-being, not only to reverse people's pathologies and my clients, but to strengthen peak performance and clear brain fog and help you operate on less sleep and help you have deeper sleep and like faster workout recovery, things like that. So alchemical elixirs that are even more out there and superfoods that are less out there, and moderate to extreme fasting regimens. Those are some practices. Then we have yoga, including hatha and yoga nidra. Yin yoga has been fantastic. It's not my favorite, but it gets into like deeper connective tissues and you hold the postures for a longer time. Then there's communication styles. It's not exactly nonviolent communication and reflective listening, but similar concepts to connect to yourself and then to connect to professionals, bosses, coworkers, partners, like romantic partners and family members, all the triggers that come up and how to have coherence and integrity. So the way of speaking and communicating to oneself and others, there's a few practices there. I really like, it's hard to say like sexual yoga or sexual kung fu, but how to go like in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for example, like how to go from impulse and desire to refined inspiration and like let that sexual energy be a motivating factor that helps you connect emotionally to yourself and to the divine and to your passion projects, and not only have deeper fulfillment from pleasure with the partner, but have deeper fulfillment from like your own sense of self-respect and adventure instead of just kind of being owned by your impulses. So there's a kind of like Montauk Chia's body of work in the microcosmic orbit and things like that. And then there's Anking, like the symbol of immortality in Egyptian culture that you see. And some deities have 1 to 3 Ankhs that represent their levels of attainment.
What are Ankhs?
It's hard to draw it on here, but there's like a circle on the top, a line down the middle, and it looks like it has 2 legs and 2 arms out to the side, and it's like an Egyptian sort of cross.
Yeah.
But that little circuit over the head is how the energy that circulates, oftentimes sexual, but sometimes just kind of like chi, like in an Eastern practice. It'll pause at the back of the heart chakra when you retain the breath, come over the head, enter back into the heart, and then stabilize in the belly. And that allows things to happen with one's energy and arousal that contains the energy and balances the desire to allow for not just a deepening of the heart, but like calming your vitality so it doesn't want to escape your body. It can be sustainably expressed in a multitude of ways.
Instead of like, and for lack of a better word, ejaculated.
Yeah, there's the petite mort, as the French say.
Yeah.
And then there's also the kind of release you start doing with your crown when you get all excited about circulating the energy and you build it up.
Yeah.
And if you build up too much energy, then the release can actually be more detrimental than just like the regular kind of Western sexual paradigms. And I believe it's called the valley orgasm, when you don't release out of the top, which is why the Ankh in the Egyptian mythology is so relevant, because the energy circulates over and around the crown and back into the heart instead of releasing out of there. And even though that one's highly more beneficial and pleasurable, it still has its limitations and the energy still disperses just out of a higher center. But when the energy is calmed, it's not like blue balls or blue ovaries, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
It's like the fulfillment of release and the energetic strength and well-being of retention at the same time. It's kind of like an alchemical best of both worlds. So that's a beautiful thing to be able to work towards. Men usually learn to retain, while women usually learn to open and express. And as they achieve their proficiency, then the pendulum swings the opposite way for mastery and refinement. Like once a man is able to retain that energy, then he still wants to be able to open into the full depth and breadth of his feeling. And once a woman is able to open and release that expression, she still wants to bring it in for sustainable vitality and well-being in higher states. And I really love not just intimacy coaching for pleasure and sensationalism and things like that, but intimacy coaching for like the depth of relationship with the divine through the reflection of the partner. And in terms of men's work, there's a lot that you can do on your own, and there's a lot that you can do through meditation, and there's a lot that you can do through your workouts and circulating this energy in a completely non-sexual context that is beautiful. And that's it kind of starts to flirt with the edge of mediumship, but I'm not talking about, ancestors and unborn children and deities and things like that. I'm talking more about like your higher self, or your sense of the spirit of nature and God. So it's more of a feeling energy than a theoretical thing that moves through your body and informs the quality of depth that you can relax to, and the quality of not only strength and vigor that you can express, say, in your workouts, or the confidence in your speeches that you might give, but I call it the lucid window to God.
I love that.
In the Bhagavad Gita, sukha means sweetness, like sukha nut. And then stira is like el toro fuerte, like like strength of the bull.
Yeah.
And so the balance between sukha and stira, like sweetness and strength, is lucidity. And if you're too relaxed, say too feminine, you might float away and become wispy. And if you're too focused and you have too many blinders, then you might get really just dogmatic, intense. And right in between that is grace. Like you hear any divine deity speak, or like the simulations of one, and it's got like this feminine and this powerful masculine, and they seem to both echo with that androgynous type of vibe at the same time.
Yeah.
And people can cultivate that. So physical workouts from ancient traditions and custom ways, like you go to dim sum and then you learn what dishes you like. The dietary stuff without chemical elixirs and superfood herbs. The intimacy exercises that are about communication and energetic dynamics. And there's things that you can do, again, on your own and with a partner when you have one to practice, to help you more efficiently move that energy and learn your skills. And it's also just a lot of fun. And then power sites, there's nature sites, and not just like temples and spiritual pilgrimage things, but places that help you to relax and gather strength and well-being on the earth, with and without human construction on top of it. And pockets of light tours that I like to occasionally organize.
Pocket of light?
Pockets of light, yeah. So those pockets could be, so in your body there's meridians, and then your energy centers are where those veins of energy or meridians intersect, like a vortex of energy or a chakra. And in the earth they have ley lines, and then power sites where basically the meridians of the earth, these larger channels of energy in the planet, intersect, and then we're able to work with that energy. So some of the pockets are that, and some of the pockets are spiritual communities and teachers. And when you link those things together, then you can up the potential of your life because of all the beauty that comes from any one. I just have so much. So that's why it's wonderful that you're here with the specific focus on men's work in general, and we can sort of tease out, as you explained in our pre-interview call, that which you think would be most beneficial from my body of work, because it's extensive. And, I know how to navigate the world of the intellectual, but I'm not really that scholarly or intellectual per se. I'm more of like Rumi or Hafiz. I just have a passion for the joy of the artistry, of the expression of the energy, like the gnosis, more than the discussion of it. So as we start to zero in on the practices themselves, we can start diving into the feelings and teaching some of the men that are listening and their partners how to access that energy and work with it. That's what I'm most excited about.
What you're speaking to, I so love, because I think it's one of the most important things, or body of work, that a lot of men in today's society ought to practice. And it's what you're referring to, what I call embodiment, right? Somatic, right? Like tune into the body, because our intellect can only go so far, right? Like science and all the other things that come along with it can only go so far, especially if we're not allowing ourselves to tune into our relaxation, our nervous system, just our nervous system. if we're constantly like overriding it by saying, no, this has to get done. I got to do it now. I got to do it now kind of thing, right? It's like, what are we doing? Like, what's the point, right? So it's part of my message too, is like really having men go on that's why it's called the inner edge. It's like having men go on the inner journey of like, who am I? What am I? What's my body about? Instead of it always being like, what am I doing in the external world? So thank you for being of service in that. I think it's so important. We need more of that teaching, more of that sort of coaches out there, or mystics. My bad. You're a mystic. You're not a coach. Yeah. So I'm curious about your practice, because I think when I speak to a lot of guys, when I talk to them or coach them, they don't realize the practice that it takes to do this work. There's no pill, right? There's no pill. Like, you really truly have to dedicate or give yourself a discipline, even if it's one of the things that Samson has mentioned, like the yoga, right? Like, commit to yourself to yoga or kriya yoga, whatever it is. So what is your practice that you've gotten to this point in your life?
I cycled through many of them. There was a time beyond that 1,000 days that I wanted to do kundalini yoga sadhana every day. And before that, it was hatha yoga or the 8 brocades. Before I ever really got into romantic or sexual energy when I was a kid, I created something that I'm going to teach today called the Beloved Meditation. And it was sublime for me. I also work with my own ormus, an alchemical elixir that I create, and I layer a few different types of gratitude into a feeling and kind of practice qigong with that feeling. So yoga, qigong, fasting. I do a dry fast, meaning no water either, for 1 day every week, 3 days every month. So one of those weeks it's 3 days instead of one, and then 7 days once a year. Wow. And in that time, with the proper safety procedures and support, I'm able to reset my digestion and burn out cysts and parasites and purify the mind and do a lot of great things that give me freedom and vitality. That's one practice.
Yeah, that's so. Just to preface this for the listeners and the viewers, like, yes, I know you can go and YouTube that, like, you can social media that, or not. Sorry, you can AI this and, chat GPT this. Following a support protocol is really important. Like, some of these things you can harm yourself, right? If you all of a sudden are like, ooh, cool, 3-day fast, I'm going to go do it. Like,
not recommend.
Yeah, exactly. just take it easy. Find some, reach out to Samson, get some help. It's important that we do things, if you want to try it for, 3 hours, 4 hours of not eating, cool. But like, if you want to really go forward and practice, like, find a practitioner. So
yeah, there's safety protocols and procedures that allow one to respect their safety. And if you come at it unpretentiously without too much ego and with a lot of self-observation, then you can break the fast, or you can add moderate nutrients in it, or you can make sure that you're doing kind of like the pre and post care that is necessary to make it treat you well. For example, you clean out the tissues of all these toxins, but then there's this empty, porous space in there, and you can either, I can't, diss any brands on your podcast, but you can either dump chemicals and genetically modified food deep into the cells and make it even worse, or you can put some healthy things in slowly that won't disturb your digestion and give you a strong foundation. So how you close the fast is just as important as the fast. And then what your focus is during the fast is also very important too, because if you're stressed and your metabolism is still moving fast, even though you're not putting nutrients in there, then you can like emaciate yourself and eat your muscle instead of your fat and do a lot of exhausting things. Or you can slow down your metabolism and you can calm your mind and you can get so many deep insights. Like the fasting in many different spiritual traditions around the world, it's not just a way to be reverent to the Creator and connect to the silence. It's also, we use 60% of the adenine triphosphate, the cellular energy, ATP, on digestion at any given time. And this is a water fast. It's a little faster with a dry fast, I believe. But I think it was 24 to 36 hours, depending on your metabolism, in which your digestion shuts down and that energy, that cellular energy, is liberated. And then it goes to things like detoxifying your tissues and healing traumatic memories and restructuring your body, like maybe not exactly like a chiropractor, but more subtle, like the intelligence of your body works. But it reorganizes your vitality. And at first you feel like utter crap because all the deep toxins from your tissues get ejected into your bloodstream, which is why people often have binders, which would be impossible in a water fast where you can only have water, or a dry fast where you can't even have water. But when you're ready for it and you know how to do the proper pranayama, sun gazing during the lower phases of the sun when it's safer to learn, you can move through so much toxicity and deepen your sense of embodiment just because you move out of your compulsion. So whether that's food, or that's sleep, or that's relationships, or that's overeating, or that's different substances, what have you, you don't have to try to quit every single thing that gives you pleasure and solace to pick one thing and have a level of consistency. And then suddenly you realize the emotional content inside of the impulse to block out what you feel, and it becomes welcoming instead of intimidating. And that's your doorway.
Man, I want to do this right now. Let's go. We're going to take a break. We're going to do a 3-day fast and we'll be back. No kidding.
See you in a few days.
You spoke about, you've used the word observation several times in this podcast. I'm curious if you can share a little bit, how can they learn to observe?
Okay, so if we want to get as basic and foundational as possible, breath. Even if you're not pushing your tongue upward and rolling your eyes and doing a layered meditation process, just even with your eyes open, you sit, tune into how you're feeling, meaning listen to the sensations in your body with or without emotional awareness, and watch yourself breathing in and watch yourself breathing out. And in that, you'll start to notice things like sensations in the body, intrusive thoughts, or if you're on a very pristine level, maybe you'll just notice where your awareness is being drawn. The Ouroboros is a symbol of a snake eating its own tail. So when you move beyond the discomfort in the body, you move beyond the emotions and thoughts, there's an intrinsic fullness in the silence. You learn to let the sensations and thoughts pass like clouds in the sky, and your observance is the sky, which Sri Yukteswar, Yogananda's teacher, would call oceanic minds. You begin to cultivate that. I'm a space. There's a lot moving through me that does not define me. Breathing in, breathing out, noticing the pauses between the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Try it with your eyes closed for a breath. And milk this feeling as you slowly open your eyes. Notice if you feel different in your body, just from a few breaths, from paying attention, from closing your eyes for just a moment.
Nice. That's not even the practice or the exercise he's doing.
Oh, that's like
and he read a little teaser, a little taster for you. Yeah, I definitely, I noticed myself, and this usually happens when I do drop in. I take a really deep breath after. And so I did a deep breath and definitely feeling more sensation, and just not even like 3 minutes, guys? 3 minutes, not even, like a minute and a half. So yeah, thank you for that. So that's how you observe, just tuning into your body, your breath, and noticing what's present. So great segue. This is perfect. Why don't we jump into explaining the exercise? What is it? What are the steps? So they get a sort of framework as to what it is you're offering.
Okay, and this won't be included in the standalone.
No, this is, so the way that I'm approaching this podcast is I'm doing a podcast. They're going to explain what the exercise is, and then we're going to have the exercise, and then I'm going to pull the exercise out, but the explanation won't be in there. I think it's too much for, if a guided, I prefer a guided meditation from beginning to end, it just being the meditation. Mm-hmm. And then I can read the description if I want to, or go listen to, cool, what is the exercise about? So
perfect. All right. So this is where we get to expand on it.
Yeah.
The before slice of bread.
Exactly.
We have the after slice of bread, and we're heading into the meat.
Yeah.
For all you vegans out there, plants are people too.
Little plug there for it.
I have actually gone vegan for many months, and I'm not knocking it, but I just like the broadness of perspective. Yeah. So I came up with this thing called the Beloved Meditation, which I didn't name for a long time when I was a kid, before I really understood like sensuality or romantic relationships or anything like that. And some of my multidimensional experiences might suggest that to me, but I hadn't had those experiences in this life. And I was just kind of thinking about fulfillment, and I was thinking about how my grandparents were both together for more than 50 years in their marriages. So even though my parents got divorced, like I saw a lot of love and a lot of joyful socializing and a lot of like financial and emotional well-being and social freedom, as well as the difficulties. And I had examples in both directions. I'm thinking to myself, how does one cultivate this higher consciousness that I have? How can I invite people to what I want to relate to them about? Because I don't really want to rule people out that don't just already get the wavelength that I'm on, because I know they have the potential to elevate me too, and I want to connect to them. So I'm like, how can I kind of get my essence across simply? Yeah. And the Beloved Meditation came to me. So what I'm going to teach first is a couple foundational skills that lead into it. So we'll get to the juicy part soon. But standing meditation called Zhuang Hung, when you sort of embrace a tree, but you're not actually hugging a tree, you're just putting your arms up in that shape, and then you're doing kind of like a horse dance like you'd see in Tai Chi or Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. And you fatigue the psoas muscles, among other things, and you're strengthening the grounding channels that move through like the pelvis and the hips and the legs and the feet into the earth. And the sun gives the earth its electromagnetic regulation, and the earth gives it to our hearts. To the Schumann resonance moderates our circadian rhythms. That's known in Western science as well. And side note, it's off the charts lately, and that's really fun to think about.
What do you mean it's off the charts?
The Schumann resonance, like on the
really?
The national measurement device is like consistently off the charts, not just spiking once in a while.
Okay.
It's different than it's been for thousands of years, and therefore so are our hearts that take their cues from it in our consciousness. Yeah. So like when you can plug Western science into ancient prophecy, people start to listen to it, even if they don't have the, philosophies of divinity and that sort of background. They're like, okay, well, if my heart is different, then maybe I should reevaluate my consciousness, and maybe the old wisdom is different. Yeah. So the foundation of presence that's in the standing meditation is powerful, because just like my kriya fatigues the arms and then has the arms shaking until you become calm through the effort and intensity, I think of it as like Dranomax for the nervous system, right? Like you're holding a difficult posture, and then the energy of your awareness and your muscular effort to hold the form pushes through all of these blocks, physical and emotional. Very uncomfortable. I hope you enjoy it. And then,
thanks, Samson.
Yeah, absolutely. But today we're doing the one with the legs, which to me is a bit easier. It's just larger muscle mass and more grounding. It's like less explosive spiritual feelings and more just like strength and calm and patience. That's why it's such a great foundational skill to teach. Back when the military secrets were martial arts instead of like guns and bombs and things like that, the different dynasties, the different families, not just dynasties, they would have this standing meditation for about an hour every day for a year. And if you miss a single day, you start over, and only then would they teach you their moves of, the martial arts that are the military secrets of the family, because they don't want to disrespect the family name. Yeah. Wow. And I'm just talking about, 5 to 15 minutes here. You fatigue the psoas a little bit, you get the shaking. If you stick with it for a few days or a couple of weeks, then eventually the shaking goes away before you close the practice, and you don't just feel a little bit stronger and more patient. You feel like how you have the potential to go a lot further and maybe approach some of that, not even mystical stuff, but just slightly more disciplined stuff from different cultures. Mm-hmm. So you get that shake, that fatigue, that opening of a lot of the emotional and physical tension that we hold in the pelvis and the legs. And then that relaxed muscle tissue that's full of chi, prana, ohas, life force, whatever you want to call it, from the different cultures. And you realize that this battery of energy in your legs and belly, in your sort of breathing relationship into the earth and back out from the earth, is very powerful for your endurance and concentration, for your sense of calm. And upon that foundation, you can build the use of your energy awareness. So that's the first key. Call it standing meditation and the cleansing of the belly and legs.
Okay.
Then we have, as you breathe in and pull your palms apart and breathe out and move your palms together, you learn how to sense energy and build energy in your body. So this is an example of how it doesn't have to do anything with a partner and how it doesn't have to do anything with sexual energy. This is just using chi. It's like a neutral life force that all your organs share. And then you learn to sense and strengthen that energy. And so from the foundation, then the energy is not going to kind of go hog wild and you get distracted. You're able to concentrate and have a larger capacity to conduct energy. And then you learn to sense it in a safe way, having that secondary background. And then you apply the beloved meditation. So these are like the foundations that we need to make the juice funnel through the aquifer in the right direction. So you can't just skip to the juice.
Yeah. Okay, so it's standing and then sit on the floor or sit on the, so that what's the next, so.
Yeah, we'll sit on the floor instead of the chair just to be a bit more grounded.
Okay, great.
Get literal with it, with our metaphors.
All right.
It's a litaphor.
Litaphor. You got some great words. What did you say? Dranomax?
Dranomax. Yeah.
You're actually literally talking about Drano, right?
Don't put that in your body in real life.
Not in your brain. No.
You're going to have to sign a waiver before you listen to this.
Oh man, this is great. All right. So anything else about the exercise before we do it?
Yeah, this is the best part.
Okay.
So the beloved meditation itself is, in Tantra, you're familiar with the position of Yabyum, where like the female partner sits on the male partner's lap, or in alternative orientations, just the feminine energy is in the lap and the masculine energy is the base. So because they're doing men's work, it's a little simpler than all the other communities. So you're the base, and the qigong bubble that you create, the energy bubble that you'll feel in the standing meditation and work with in the seated meditation, actually becomes the energy of the neutralizing opposite gender polarity. So you're creating a woman instead of just an energy bubble, but it's not a woman from your life, and it's not even necessarily a human woman. It's just the perfect counterbalance of the masculine energy that you have, a bubble of feminine energy, or yin qi. And you sit that on your lap and you're kind of holding it from a distance, like by the aura or like by the kidneys and the midriff and the waist, and you're focusing on these 3 different points, the belly, the chest, and the forehead, and they all have different qualities that balance the way the energy flows through your body. After feeling the benefits of the connection of, say, the erogenous, the loving, and the peaceful, then you move into what it is to merge with it. And you may or may not be successful with that, and it feels great just to sit with the feeling of the 3 points. So whether or not you're able to succeed with the feeling of all the parts of the meditation, it's very beneficial just to practice it. But you absorb into the feminine energy absorbs into you, and you're part of this greater androgynous being. And I was able to feel this as a kid, and it kind of felt like tapping into the soul, because the soul has like no gender and both genders integrated in a strange way, whereas our bodies and the personalities that manifest through our bodies usually have very clear gender polarity for the most part.
Yeah.
And you sit with the fulfillment of that. Like, you know, some of your best moments with partners with great emotional or sexual or conversational chemistry, and you're feeling this like joy, this fulfillment, this peace, but then I can generate that on my own.
Right.
And how much less neediness might you have in partnership? How much might you not just need to express will for impulse control, but have a genuine fulfillment, not just during the meditation, but echoing after that meditation, holding your heart and helping you to live as an inspired expression of your joyful truth, instead of living from a place of desire and seeking, or, you know, as you were saying, like, what's the next thing I have to do? Because as the cliche goes, we are human beings, not human doings.
Right.
So what are we most focusing on, being or doing? And in our modern age today, most people would say doing.
Yeah.
And I think that is not a shameful thing. That expresses the potential to be greatly uplifted by a shift.
Yeah.
So that's most of the beloved meditation. And then you kind of milk that energy of the androgynous being back to the here and now moment. And you sit there silently, releasing all the efforts of the many focuses. and just seeing how it feels. And then the final piece is when you return to your life and you're doing the next thing on your calendar, you know, whether that's going for a peaceful walk or trying to fill out your taxes or getting chastised by your boss or something. There's many different difficulty levels. You try to maintain some degree of that beauty and that expanded consciousness that you've experienced in the practicum of your day-to-day life. And that's where it really shines, because by the time you come to the next session of that meditation, you're like, oh, time to tap back in. But as an intermediate student and not a beginner, you're like, okay, before I predict this increase and this nourishment to start fading, I'm going to proactively practice again. And then your life becomes an ever more beautiful horizon where you keep deepening into the feeling of that fulfillment. Mm-hmm. What if it was always the best day of your life, even when there's deaths and breakups and medical diagnoses and financial losses? What if you had such a deep practice that trust wasn't a philosophy, but the wonder within those mystics, Hafiz and Rumi and the ones I was referencing at the beginning, was a real living experience. And you could teach your kids that, and you could inspire that in partnership, and you could share that in your community. Yeah. So that was kind of the purpose behind this, to help me relate to people on a selfish level, and to help people connect more deeply to this truth that I've sensed since I was a child because of that multidimensional awareness. So that's the purpose and a small percentage of the science behind the beloved meditation and the foundational practices that lead up to it.
And you created this as a child? Mm-hmm. The whole process, or just the beloved part?
I didn't layer the standing meditation or the breathing bubble until later, because I already had those skills. Mm-hmm. I could deepen into them, of course, and I appreciated that, but I didn't realize what people didn't understand, because first I see people's soul and like their higher self, and it's not even their potential, but with an expanded dimensional awareness, like people already have their greater gifts active in their higher belief systems that includes their multidimensional experiences. And I perceived that stuff. So I was like, wait, how do I relate to something I'm not experiencing? How can I tell how people are tapped out and the nature of their struggling? And the answer was by taking on a bunch of stuff from my lineage and my parents and the kids that made fun of me in school. I was popular in college, but before that, so after I took on enough trauma and pain from some of the other souls around me, and went native as an anthropologist, and kind of like lost sense of some of my equanimity, then it was a lot easier for me to learn how to serve people and educate people and build the steps so that people could approach my experience. Because I wasn't a trust fund baby financially, but spiritually in some ways I was. I inherited this energy and consciousness, whether that's from like a past life or parallel selves, or if that's a gift from God and, you know, YOLO or whatever. Yeah. I don't really care necessarily the structure of the greater reality that's not given to me. I just care the quality with which we live our lives moment to moment. So even though I have all this information, I'm very unpretentious about what is real and what's not. And I don't preach any dogma to anyone. I believe in the sovereignty of the free choice of each of us and the way that the higher consciousness conducts a symphony between us. And I call it the sovereign symphony. So when we're different, that's good.
Yeah. Yoo-hoo! Nice. All right. Right on. Beautiful. Well, I'm excited to experience this. Anything else before we jump into the exercise?
I'm excited to share it. Do you have any questions about it or anything you think I should include for the viewers?
I think so you mentioned something about when they're tuning in, like when they're doing the exercise. I think when you're doing the exercise, just trust the process, right? Like if you start telling yourself like, I'm not doing it right, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, right? Just experience the exercise and see how it feels at the end. And then notice if you decide to do it again and again, just notice the progression and that it takes practice to deepen into what Samson has shared. Like you might not feel it the first time. You might, right? You might just all of a sudden be like, holy shit, I feel this. This is amazing, right? So it depends on who you are and how you show up to the practice. The advice or the suggestion is just show up to it to the best of your ability in the moment.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. Even your willingness to sit and inquire is a victory.
I love it. Yeah. My meditation teacher always would tell me meditation is the continuous practice of sitting in the chair, right? Like whether you sit in a chair, wherever you're doing to meditate, that's what meditation practice is. It's not necessarily the idea that you're going and, am I meditating? Sorry. No, the practice is, can I sit in the chair day in, day out? All right. So let's go ahead and
let's stand in the chair. So part one is the standing meditation. You're going to take a look at your feet and see if they're a little bit duck-toed or pigeon-toed, meaning outward or inward. And do your best to get them slightly wider than hip-width apart and parallel. It doesn't have to be perfect. Close as you can. Now you're going to lean toward your toes in the front and inward part of your foot, your big toes. You're going to lean towards your pinky toes, toward your heels on the outside, toward your heels on the inside. Spiral your weight, big toes, pinky toes, outer heels, inner heels. Now spiral it the opposite direction, inner heels, outer heels, little toes, big toes. And just notice the distribution of your weight, move it as you choose, and find your center. Now put a hand on your lower back. Notice how there's a natural curvature to your back. And tuck your pelvis a lot and notice how your vertebrae stick out. And untuck it, notice that there's an arch. So you're gonna find an alignment that's right for you, just a straight spine. Once you succeed at that, imagine there's a string at the top of your head, gently pulling upward from the crown. Raising out of your shoulders, raising out of your belly, raising out of your pelvis, your legs. And notice that your chin tucks back just a centimeter or two. This is aligning the central channel or Shushumna. Slightly bend your knees. Not enough for your knees to go past your toes, just gentle. And now imagine that there's a cloud under your hands. And let your hands slowly rise. Whatever you're doing, do it about 3 times slower. Your elbows bend, your elbows are sinking, your shoulders relax. Now, when it gets about up to shoulder height, your palms rotate inward. Notice any level of tension that you have in the arms, in the legs, in the chest. Take a deep breath. Relax it all into the earth. Minimum effort to hold the pose. Slightly extend your arms forward. You're holding this energy bubble here. It's pointing at your chest. And go just a little deeper into the bend in the knees. Enough that there's a moderate challenge. The spine is straight. Moderate challenge in the legs. Your attention is in the belly and the legs and between the hands. And now drop into the awareness of your breath. Neither speeding it or slowing it, just observing it, relaxing your muscles, maintaining the pose. And be here for a few minutes. Noticing how the tension might creep up in the shoulders, chest, elbows, legs, belly. Relax it away every time you notice it. Add a soft smile. See what it changes. Relax the feet and the legs. Relax the belly and the chest. Relax the shoulders and the palms of the hands. Just a little deeper in the knees. Relax the muscles of your face and your gaze, not quite blurring your eyes. Relax in a cascade from the top of your head to your feet. Rotate your palms upward, step your left foot into your right foot. Inhale the palms up overhead, facing each other, exhale down your center line. Take a moment and observe how you feel. That is part one. Now we're entering our sitting position. In many different modalities of energy healing, this is how one learns to sense energy. Pointing the palms at each other, being aware of the center of the palms and the fingertips. As you exhale, as slowly as you can, move your hands towards each other. As you inhale, as slowly as you can, move the palms apart. Letting your breath breathe itself and decide the pace of the movements. Outward with every inhale and inward with every exhale. Relaxing the elbows and shoulders, remembering that string atop your crown, elongating the spine. Now smile with your eyes. If you can manage this with your eyes closed for just a couple breaths. Very slowly with each breath, continue bringing the palms closer instead of apart. Slowly now, especially when they almost touch. And let the palms and fingertips touch on the next exhale. And a little bow, thumbs to the heart. And put your palms down on your legs, face down. Just notice for a moment how you're feeling. This was just our preparation to clean and then charge. Now the heart of the beloved meditation begins. Just like you're in your standing posture as you're sitting, feeling the strength of your spine, the connection between earth and sky, the grace that is above your head and the stability that is below your hips, moving through you. As you're creating this energy bubble, you can do it with the micro movements or in stillness as you prefer. Imagine feminine energy. There's no particular woman or identity that comes up. Don't push it away, but don't try to reach for it. And the energy bubble is going to take the shape of a woman's body sitting in your lap. So her legs are wrapped around your hips, your bellies are touching each other, your chests are touching each other, your foreheads are touching each other. And continue generating this energy, focusing on your hands and your breath. With your eyes closed, and you feel her belly on your belly. And if you can, tap into a mild erogenous charge, just the sensuality of skin on skin, belly on belly. You feel that for a moment, wild in its nature, or at least visualize it. And then moving into the heart, or chest on chest. And that's not just erogenous, that's loving. Like someone you trust, in this case it's made of your own energy. You trust it completely. And that brings a sense of calm and emotional nourishment. The energy extends from the belly into the heart. And finally, your forehead to forehead. Though your eyes are closed, you can feel her smile through the forehead contact. And you notice how your forehead relaxes. You can't help but reciprocate, so you're kind of like third eye gazing with her even though your eyes are closed, sharing this smile. And notice how even though the erogenous energy of the belly and the love in the chest are there, there's a peace to it all. The silent approval and gratitude. Surrender that you share. Relaxing the arms and shoulders, seeing if you can feel the quality of her skin with your hands and fingertips, feel the energy of her heart. The energy is real. The feminine presence is made real by your focus. sigh or a sound that wants to come out, you can play with that or let it happen. Just imagine that you could absorb into each other. Slowly, your left hand moves to your heart, your right hand moves to your belly, and you're absorbing this energy into yourself. The volume of the two of you merges. And the calm, the lightning of the erogenous energy, the sweetness of the heart, the peace of the forehead, they all mix into one singular, larger being. Receive and emanate this state. Slowly she dissolves back into the energy ball. She's in your lap again. Your hands move off your heart and belly into the energy ball. The holding shape. You're both returning to your bodies in this expanded state. The peace of the forehead is the first thing you notice. A soft smile. The chest on chest. Nourishment, kind of a turn on without lust, and then the wild energy in the belly where they touch, but it's expanded, moving through a larger circuit, calm. You give a thank you to the divine, to her, and to yourself. Speak it silently or loud. Thank you, my beloved. Which can pertain to God, your partner, and yourself. Then slowly turn the palms downward, resting them on the knees, staying inside for a moment. Noticing how you feel. Milking these expanded feelings into the here and now moment. Moving slowly into the sensations of your body, wiggling your fingers and toes just slightly. Softly opening your eyes. Maintain this feeling even as you open your eyes. Maintain this feeling to the best of your ability as you move into what's next. Samson Love. This is the Inner Edge podcast, and this has been a presentation of the Beloved Meditation, one of my favorite creations. Thank you so much for listening and practicing.
Thank you.
It's my honor.
I definitely noticed my tenseness while holding the poses. There's moments where I was like, I want to move my knee and I want to move my leg. And when we got down and sat down and I felt the beloved, the feminine energy, it was interesting to be able to feel the feminine essence. But after when you said, now you're one, merge into one, oh man, that was so potent. I was just dropped in, connected. Yeah, that was really, really sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is really powerful in a sense of feeling connected. It's basically a merging or integration of my masculine and feminine, simply put. And I could definitely feel that I'm there, that I'm connected. So thank you for that. Thank you for leading that. Beautiful. Yeah. Any words that you like to share as to how you feel? Like what's this? Yeah. What has this practice done for you?
It's awesome. Not to get too personal, but usually like in this culture, when a guy loses their virginity, they're either like too uncomfortable to either have stamina or to have a release, one or the other, depending on their predominant imbalance. And I feel like it gave me, I was kind of worried just because like my parents divorced when I was so young. I was like, man, how am I going to do when I start connecting if this is what's around me, you know?
Yeah.
And then looking at like kid relationships in school, that was obviously terrible because they're supposed to be like, most kids don't know what they're doing. And it just kind of prepared me, not for like all the emotions and communication and stuff, but for the ability to deal with my own energy in that context. It like really improved my learning curve without getting too personal. And then way more importantly than that social stuff, it was kind of feeling like a star being, I guess. If I'm going to identify with any of those extra dimensional experiences, Sirius B would be my star origins more than any of the others that I have lesser experiences and affinity with. And I ground into the cosmos, where most people in spirituality, they ground. Like they ground into their body, they ground into the earth. Like a tree, the sensation of the dirt, the eyes of a person staring at yourself in the mirror. I ground into kind of the divine presence and then that star place that I come from and how it felt to like not be neurospicy and just be like typical and normal and fit in, even though we were all by Earth standards weirdos up there, we're normal there. So I feel that sense of like fitting in and being connected to the source energy that I come from, and then I also ground into the earth, and then it doesn't feel like out of phase or out of sync, and I'm able to ground that way. For a long time, I tried to listen to a bunch of spiritual teachers and ground, and I'm like, I don't know what the problem is, but it's like, two different energies are clashing and conflicting with each other. And then I fully embraced the cosmic energy and was able to plug into the earth energy. And it's like, it's a grounding into the heart that includes the earth and the stars and the masculine and the feminine and the young and the old and all these different parts of myself that could be conflicted, especially echoing like the lineage and my parents and all the kids making fun of me in school and stuff like that. And it just, it neutralized the cognitive dissonance like a counter sine wave and just brought me into harmony. So even though I didn't feel the erogenous energy in my belly per se, because I was too young for that part, I felt the energy of connection. And it was still yab yum, but I hadn't learned a thing about Tantra at that point in my life. So that was like, I did a whirling dervish like Sufi in the bathroom of my Sunday school too. And I never heard of Sufism either. So these practices were just like slowly emerging. And then I'm like, oh, those are real things like later in life. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You were tapped in already.
Yeah. So it brought me a lot of peace. It stopped me from fighting with myself. It helped me to know where to have boundaries with things that were unhealthy for me and be like, oh, this isn't mine. So when I got to college and like the eczema and the IBS and like a bunch of my anxiety and my allergies, I could breathe through my nose. It's kind of like when Spider-Man got bit by the spider and he says, oh, I'm tired. And he gets home and he walks past his Aunt May and Uncle Ben and goes to bed. And then Aunt May in the morning, she goes, any change? Like, you feeling better? And he's like looking in the mirror at his abs without his glasses on. And he's like, big change.
Right.
I got to college and I'm like, suddenly, people like me and I can breathe through my nose and I don't have rashes and I'm not itchy and I can stand up straight and my stomach works. And eventually I came to the conclusion, I'm like, oh, wow, this was like things I was taking on from the culture and people around me, like the kids making fun of me and my parents and whatnot and the environment and, literally being allergic to the pollen on the East Coast, I guess. And it wasn't something intrinsic to my being that I have to deal with for my whole life.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like a precursor of the well-being that I would experience in the future of my life, even during my on one hand, it was really blissful and connected, and people would like give anything to feel some of the stuff I felt in my childhood. And on the other hand, it was torturous. So it's like a really beautiful, paradoxical dichotomy.
Yeah.
But it was the perfect initiation for me to come to earth and be of service and, not be too, I guess, like arrogant and spoon-fed in the way that I have this. If I had a whole bunch of respect and support, how much would I have taught it to other people and valued the suffering of being without it? And then if I was in too harsh of an environment, would I have had the courage and the strength and the wherewithal to bring it to people, or would have I just been overwhelmed? So I feel like as difficult as it was and as beautiful as it was perfect. And it's pretty intense to say that when you break your heart and break your bones and lose your mind and travel through the cosmos and feel disoriented and made fun of and singled out and abused and hurt. And then somehow that was a gift. But that is how I eventually came to feel. And some greater part of me felt that way even during the chaos before I was able to process it and ground that. So the beloved meditation, among other practices, just imagine me biking to Barnes and Noble, and they don't have GPSs on the phones, like a clamshell, if anything. So you're like writing it down on tiny little pieces of paper and like napkins and stuff. You can't even buy the book. You bike to a park or a beach and practice something on your own. My first classes were homeless people. You want to get high for free?
Nice.
I didn't do drugs. They had parents against drugs and alcohol, I didn't learn about shamanism and the healthy use of substances until way later in life. So a lot of them wanted to get high for free.
Yeah.
And a few of them got mad at me when we got to my practice location and I had no drugs. But the ones that stuck around did get high for free. And they also learned how to do that anytime for free and sometimes improve their well-being in their circumstances. Beautiful. Not that some homeless people aren't well-adjusted and just enjoying a different lifestyle, but many of them are greatly suffering. And then a guy with a master came along and he was like, "Can I co-teach your class?" I'm like, "Are you serious? You want to talk to these people?" And he did. And then he introduced me to his master that was just some humble window washer. And I learned some traditional 18 movements, Chen style, short form Tai Chi. And I'm like, oh, this is a lot better than my Barnes and Noble books. We ended up touring the country after he wrote a book after college, and the story goes on. But I just kind of used what I had, and I never really was that big of a fan of being book learned. I like to practice things. I like to play sports but not watch them. Sorry, all the fans of everything.
Right, same. I'm same. I hear you.
I'm supposed to like the Bruins and the Patriots because I grew up near Boston, but I got homogenized by freaking California. Now I talk California normal, like
Yeah. So all this sort of journey has led you to offer sessions, facilitate. So what are some of the things that you're offering today?
Today, I have studied many modalities, including different forms of plant medicine like Sananga and Hape. I don't serve combo, but I do have practitioners that I recommend. It's kind of like traditional Chinese medicine or Taoist herbalism traditions or Ayurveda from the Indian practices. People are trying to heat and cool and dry and moisten their body, like terraforming a planet, but the planet is your body. You're bringing it into homeostasis. So the herbs and the foods, the different yogas that you practice, the way that you design your life brings you into harmony. So I'm kind of a consultant of health and well-being, and I enjoy them very much, but like the boring parts, because to me the best part is like the contemplation of divinity and higher consciousness and, producing your passion projects and deepening the joy of your relationships and the connection to nature, and all the transpersonal stuff is the juice for me. But basic health and well-being and like a well-organized life means a lot to me too. So I'll teach people. I'm a kundalini yoga instructor certified and a massage therapist. I'm a Reiki practitioner. So I do distance healings, and anywhere that you might be in the world, I can reach to it. And the first one's free because it's weird, maybe a little shorter. And then once it works, then we can create something. But my email is alchemistmc333@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out and ask me about my distance healing services. Hape ceremonies. I very much come to enjoy Hape ceremonies. I can actually serve it without Hape. So if people are allergic to the tobacco and don't want a powder that's blown into the sinus cavity, it has many different health benefits. But I found a way to transmit the prayer without having to blow the medicine. So even just setting the intention and doing the meditation as I serve and cleanse myself, and then blow air in your general direction through the self-serving karipe, where traditionally people serve through the tepe. That's something I offer to individuals and groups. I do yoga nidra, sort of a guided hypnosis that I construct together with my clients to help them serve their goals. And those are relatively custom. And then I can do bigger ones for groups and parties and spiritual retreats that are just more about the depth of presence and less custom.
Okay.
So let's see, we have yoga and we have meditations and yoga nidra that also helps to heal insomnia. I really like to talk to people about their ability to work with their motivation. I call it dream shops. So instead of it being like a workshop where it's work,
Yeah.
or a play shop where you're just kind of having fun and being playful, got no problem with that, but I do like to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So it's like joyfully bringing your dreams into reality. It has the vibrational quality of play and the efficiency and focus of work into one thing. And it's grounding your dreams into reality, clarifying what they are, and paving out some action steps to get them done.
Yeah.
So those are just more like consultations. You can talk about relationship energy. You can talk about career energy. You can talk about spiritual energy, and how that's applied just by yourself in your own routine, how that's applied in your workplace or with your family or with your partner. So I have quite a wide array of stuff. And then I think one of my favorite things is the God topic, where it's kind of a formless sangha where people get together and talk about what they believed when they were kids, and, you know, the beauty, the dogma, the problems, whatever, what they believe now, and then what some of the potentialities they have to reconstruct those belief systems, the ability to connect to the divine is now. So sometimes, like, I've done it with a friend in Ojai who studied with a couple enlightened masters, and, you know, I was probably the least of her teachers, and she later became my teacher as well. And so sometimes I'll have more teachers than just myself in the Sangha. It's not just a bunch of students gathered around me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, you know, me and one or two clients. But we have a formless Sangha or spiritual discussion about the nature of the divine and how we relate to it. And that's probably one of my favorites. Yeah, and again, there's my Happy Medium School.
Yeah. Man, got a lot to work with. Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you so much. So
Absolutely.
reach out to Samson, give him give him a shout out, reach out to see if any of those like excite you to work with him. You're also going to see him in the InnerEdge community, the men's community, offering something a little deeper, longer, and Q&A if you guys have any questions of him. So before we end, as always, any final remarks you would like to leave with?
Oh, it's so goofy. I always just kind of go with what
Do
comes
it.
to me.
Yeah.
Is it Rumi or Hafiz? I want to say Hafiz, but you can correct me. I'm humble like that. It's awesome. So God and I have become like two fat people in a canoe. We keep bumping into each other and laughing.
Nice.
I like that one a lot. And now if you want to close your eyes there on the other side of the podcast across time and space and just feel this little energy transmission, the two of us are going to send you guys some love. May the peace that passeth all understanding and the ever-new joy of the Spirit be with you. Thank you so much for spending this time.
Thank you, Samson. Thanks for joining the InnerEdge podcast. See you guys later.